Scotland is home to some of the most historic and atmospheric football stadiums in the world. But how do the older grounds compare to the modern ones? Today, we're diving into 20 stadiums, looking at how they've changed over time. Some have been revamped, while others remain classic football shrines. Let's get into it. 20. Hamilton Academical, New Douglas Park. Hamilton Academical's original ground, Douglas Park, stood for nearly a century before the club moved. Built in 1888, it was a classic Scottish football ground, wooden stands, open terraces, and a rough and ready atmosphere. The club spent years ground sharing before finally moving into New Douglas Park in 2001. While more modern, it lacks the raw character of the old ground. 19. Falkirk Stadium. Opened in 1885, it was a classic tight ground with steep terraces and a capacity of around 8,000. But by the late 1990s, Brockville was outdated. Aging stands, poor facilities, and safety concerns meant Falkirk needed a change. Opened in 2004, Falkirk Stadium is a modern, three-stand venue designed for the club's future. But some fans argue it lacks the soul of Brockville Park. 18. St. Mirren Park. Love Street was St. Mirren's home for over a century, from 1894 to 2009. It was one of Scotland's classic grounds, holding over 47,000 at its peak. But, like many older stadiums, it became outdated. In 2009, St. Mirren moved into a brand new stadium just a few miles away. It's an all-seater, compact, and designed for a modern matchday experience. 17. Raith Rovers, Starks Park. Unlike the others on this list, Starks Park is still standing. While it's been modernized, it remains one of Scotland's classic football grounds. Back in the early days, Starks Park had vast terraces and a much larger capacity. While it still holds its history, Starks Park has been adapted to meet modern requirements. The famous old terraces have been replaced with seating. 16. Airdrieonians, Broomfield Park. Broomfield Park, built in 1892, it was a classic old ground with quirky charm. The famous pavilion, the tight pitch, and the close proximity of fans made it a special place. It could hold around 12,000, but by the 1990s, it was outdated. Airdrie moved to Excelsior Stadium in 1998, a modern, symmetrical stadium with a much neater layout. 15. Ayr United, Somerset Park. Somerset Park, built in 1888, it has been home to Ayr United since the club's formation in 1910. If you love classic terraces and that authentic football atmosphere, this place is for you. Unlike many other Scottish clubs, Ayr United has resisted moving to a modern all-seater stadium. Somerset Park remains mostly terraced, with its iconic North Terrace still standing strong. 14. St. Johnstone, Muirton Park to McDiarmid Park. Muirton Park was St. Johnstone's home for nearly a century, opening in 1924. It was an old-school, atmospheric ground with a capacity of around 30,000. However, it had seen better days by the 1980s, and in 1989, it was replaced by McDiarmid Park. Muirton Park had a raw, intimidating feel, with massive terraces that could pack in thousands. 13. Partick Thistle, Firhill Stadium. Firhill has been the home of Partick Thistle since 1909. Located in the Maryhill area of Glasgow, it's seen it all: Scottish top-flight action, cup finals, and even rugby games. The biggest change came when the historic South Terrace was demolished, replaced by a modern stand in the early 2000s. Despite these changes, Firhill still holds onto its charm. It has an old-school feel, but with modern touches. 12. Dunfermline Athletic, East End Park. Dunfermline's East End Park is one of Scotland's oldest stadiums. It's been their home since 1885, evolving from a basic field into a proper football ground with covered stands and seating. But like many others, capacity has reduced due to safety requirements and redevelopment. Now, it's a modern, all-seater ground with a strong atmosphere, especially when the Pars are on form. 11. Dundee United, Dens Park. Dens Park is unique because it sits just 200 yards away from Tannadice, the home of Dundee United. Dens Park has changed dramatically over the years. It once had a massive capacity of 40,000, with large terraces and a traditional layout. But with modern regulations, that number has been slashed to under 12,000. 10. Fir Park, Motherwell. Fir Park has been Motherwell's home for over a century. Once a simple wooden stand and a few terraced areas, it has gradually evolved into a modern, all-seater stadium. The biggest transformation came in the 1990s when seating replaced the terracing to meet new safety regulations. However, despite its upgrades, the stadium still retains an old-school charm. 9. Tannadice Park, Dundee United. Originally called Cleppington Park, Tannadice has undergone numerous redevelopments. The biggest change came in the late 1990s when new stands replaced the old terracing. Today, Tannadice is a fully seated stadium but still keeps its compact, classic feel. Tannadice is unique as it sits just a stone's throw from Dens Park, home of rivals Dundee FC. 7. Rugby Park, Kilmarnock. Rugby Park has transformed from an old-fashioned terrace stadium into a modern arena. The biggest upgrade came in 1994 when the club rebuilt 3 stands, making it an all-seater. The introduction of a synthetic pitch in 2014 also modernized the playing surface. Kilmarnock's 2012 League Cup triumph saw the stadium packed with fans celebrating the club's first major trophy in over 100 years. 6. Tannadice Park, heart of Midlothian. Tannadice is one of the most atmospheric stadiums in Scotland. The ground has evolved from a largely open bowl with vast terracing into a fully modern stadium. In 2017, the new main stand replaced the old Archibald Leach design version, bringing capacity close to 20,000. Hearts Home has been the scene of legendary matches, including European clashes against Bayern Munich and Liverpool. 5. Easter Road, Hibernian. Easter Road has gone through several makeovers. Once famous for its massive 60,000 capacity terracing, it has been gradually redeveloped into a modern stadium, with the last major upgrade in 2010 when a new East Stand was built. Hibernian's home is known for hosting the famous Sunshine on Leith sing-along, an emotional anthem for the club. 4. Pittodrie Stadium, Aberdeen. This ground has been standing since 1899, making it one of the oldest football stadiums in the world still in use. It was actually the first all-seater stadium in the UK back in 1978, years before the Taylor Report made it mandatory. Aberdeen has been planning a move to a brand new stadium at Kingsford, just outside the city. 3. Ibrox Stadium, Rangers. Built in 1899, just like Pittodrie, Ibrox has seen some incredible changes over the decades. After the tragic Ibrox disaster in 1971, which led to the deaths of 66 fans, the club began a complete redevelopment of the stadium. The famous red brick main stand remains, a stunning reminder of its history, but inside, it's a modern powerhouse. 2. Hampden Park, Queen's Park in Scotland. This stadium has hosted some of the biggest games in football history. At its peak, Hampden held a jaw-dropping 149,415 people, an attendance record that still stands in European football. After several redevelopments, Hampden now holds 51,866. It's still home to the Scotland national team, the Scottish Cup final, and big European finals. 1. Celtic Park. Also known as Paradise, home to Celtic FC, this is Scotland's biggest football stadium. It opened in 1892 and has been transformed over the years into a world-class venue. Once upon a time, Celtic Park could hold over 80,000 fans. But as safety regulations changed, so did the ground. Today, it has a capacity of 60,411, making it the biggest club stadium in Scotland. So, there you have it, 20 of Scotland's greatest football stadiums, each with a unique past and a promising future. From historic terraces to modern stands, these stadiums have evolved while keeping their soul. Do you prefer the modern stadiums or the old-school classics? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more Scottish football content.